Yo, it's John from Noise Dosage Media, and this episode is brought to you by Defame Art. Are you a band or company looking for rad artwork or branding? Defame creates highly detailed artwork with a punch. He's worked with bands such as Revocation, Carnifex, Gatecreeper, and so much more. If you're interested in original artwork, merch, or even working with him, go to defameart.com. What's been the most eye-opening thing about opening NCB recording studio in Lakewood, Ohio in 2008?
Originally it was Brainchild Recording Studio. That was the name that I went with for many years. And I kind of started off in Cleveland, in a pretty shitty space called Rock and Roll City Studios. It's a lot nicer now, I guess, but back then it was vomit in the urinals every day.
God.
So we, I ran a studio out of there for a while, and then moved into Lakewood, which is just a western suburb. And I, kind of cut my teeth, in live sound, doing a house gig in Cleveland and doing some tours and stuff. And then it ended up being, recording bands for a living. So,
Yeah.
mostly metal bands, rock bands, local bands. That's where it all started. And then it kind of blossomed into something else. So, it's a little more than that now.
Would you consider it like a dream job? Have you always wanted to be a producer?
Not really. I sort of fell into it, in a way. It was kind of an accident. I didn't really go to college out of high school or anything like that. I just was kind of flying by the seat of my pants and running restaurants and pizza shops and shit. So
Yeah.
but ended up doing a gig at Peabody's in Cleveland, which has been gone for quite a few years now. But running front of house, doing sound, purely because they didn't have somebody else that day, and I ended up lying to get basically lied to get the job.
I do sound.
I'm really good at this, and the only experience I'd ever had was like recording my own band in a basement or something.
Right.
So I ended up doing that for 5 years. And if anybody knows anything about Peabody's, it was 5-6 bands a night, 5 to 6 nights a week. So,
right.
it was just a lot of battle of the bands and stuff. And so you just learn how to do it all, and you end up meeting a lot of people, meeting a lot of bands, and you start hanging out with people, and you're like, the guy's like, "Oh man, you did a great job tonight. You ever record a band before?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, I have." So you end up just plugging away at it until you have enough people to sustain
clientele.
Yeah, and it's all word of mouth, and I've never spent $1 on advertising. Because
especially Facebook advertising, you don't get shit.
Right. So it doesn't even matter, because if you make good records, that's your advertising. So that's how I always kind of went by it. And then, now it's a lot bigger than it ever was. Would I call it a dream job? I don't know. I mean, I enjoy it. I enjoy what I do, but it also has its really tedious parts, and
right.
You can't take a vacation, unless you got to rigorously plan shit so that you don't end up screwing somebody out of a deadline or something. And then at that, like right now, I'm getting text messages for when's our session start. So, it's literally right this second. So
I feel like you get a lot of midnight texts like, "Hey man, I got a song written."
Some of them are hilarious. I've got some voicemails saved, 2-3 in the morning voicemails from random people. "Oh man, you got to make my record. I'm going to call you back. You better answer the phone next time." And then I get 4 more missed calls. It's a good time.
You probably don't have them as clients.
No, I don't.
So some more recording questions. When would you say a song is completed?
I don't know. It's sort of a matter of opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
I think well, you mean like from a songwriter's perspective, or from like a recording perspective?
I've always been told by this producer that I work with, Doug White from Lockport Watchman Studios. He always said to me, a mix is never like a final product. You know what I mean? It's just kind of what you settle with. Yeah. And that's kind of the motto that I was trying to ask you. Like, what what do you say to bands when they're like, oh man, we could use 7 more mixes, you know?
Usually I think if you start running into issues like that, the relationship probably isn't going to work.
Right.
Um, you know, I pretty much go with, okay, you do a mix, you get everything kind of where you want it, and you just try not to overdo it.
Mm-hmm.
And then revision or two. That's kind of how I've always done it, especially over the last couple of years. I feel like I'm getting better at it.
Yeah.
You know, you're always trying to get a little bit better at what you're doing, but then also realizing, I think the biggest realization I ever made is just letting things be what they are.
Yep.
So you can try to shoehorn something together if you want. You can try going through and doing a bunch of extra shit that's
Yeah.
going to take you time that it's really hard to bill for time like that. So you end up you just do the best you can, and
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully, I think the idea is to portray the attitude and the energy that whoever's playing the song has. So
Yeah.
you know, you're trying to enhance it a little bit instead of, you know, you don't want to hinder the sound. And you know, looking back at records that I've done over the years, there are a lot of records that I look back and I cringe a little bit, and I'm like, man, what was I thinking? You know,
Yeah.
because
Exactly.
you grow up in a little bit and
Right.
stuff. So,
So what would you consider like a bad mix?
oh, I don't know. I mean, to me, personally, probably something that's overly mixed. You can
Mm-hmm.
tell when stuff is over mixed. I've done it. I've done it on my own records. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, everybody does it, and sometimes that's just trying to maybe get some, you know, meet some expectations that aren't realistic.
Right.
So, uh, what's a bad mix? I don't know. Like, because I mean, you could put on Black Flag Damaged, and
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't sound good. It doesn't. It's not mixed. I mean,
Right.
it's what they recorded in the room that day, and maybe they went back and punched in some group vocals or something. But it's a great mix, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
You know,
but there, you know, I can listen to a Nickelback record and I just turn it off because to me
oh
that's
fuck.
a bad record. That's a bad
Yeah,
mix. It's
it's
just
just bad. It's just a bad everything. So shit. Yeah, producers, I feel like there's a lot of questions you can ask.
Sure.
Musicians are kind of limited, but a producer, man, there's so much knowledge and shit that they know. So, all right. So on to here's a personal question. Um, I saw on your Facebook that you went to school to be like an electrical engineer.
Yeah, yeah.
So I graduated from Alfred for electrical myself. So what were some things that you found interesting? Like what made you get into that field?
Well, honestly, I mean, it's a little personal, but at the time, you know, I went back to school at 30.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I had already been through live sound. Already gone through a lot of shit. So, I decided at that point that at the time it would be the right thing to do to try to secure a future.
Right.
And I was married at the time, so you know things were a little different then. And I was like, I'm gonna go back to school. I'm gonna go get a little 2-year degree, and maybe I could
Yep.
find a gig doing IT somewhere or something, and get some certifications and shit.
Right.
You know, and you do it, and then you know, the marriage ends, and then you're single again at 32.
Right. And then you're like, fuck, man, I can do whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah, basically. So I just said, you know what, fuck this. I went ahead and finished it, and then I never looked back. I learned a lot, but I've never actually applied any of the knowledge that I got
Yeah.
into what I do, except for plug and play shit at the studio. I mean, it's everything nowadays is there's really not a lot of tech involved for the
Right.
user. So
Everything's already freaking figured out.
pretty much you just plug it in and you go through the menu and you figure it out. But you know, I if anything, the most eye-opening thing was how different kids are than than they were in the 90s
Right.
when I was in high
Yeah.
school. So, you know, when you look at it, and, you shrug your shoulders a little bit and you realize that, maybe, I don't know, maybe my perception's changed. Maybe it was me. Maybe I learned more about myself. But the only class I actually enjoyed was English. So,
Really?
and it's funny because when I was younger, I hated English, but now I love it.
Yeah, same. I in high school I hated it. Middle school, everything.
Yeah.
So, all right. So I'm gonna go on to some band questions now.
Sure.
How has your perspective on Nunslaughter changed since you first joined in 2014?
Well, it's interesting. I joined the band as a fill-in guitar player, and I wasn't even officially in the band until after the first tour.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went into it, it was sort of like a job interview. I had known Jim and Don I'd known Jim a lot longer than I knew Don, but because I had been recording a lot of Schnauzer stuff and some other whatever weird project he was doing at the time. So, and I was recording a bunch of Nunslaughter records.
Yeah.
I did a lot of 7-inches and little one-off releases that are still pretty common. We're still doing them now. But started doing all that stuff and did the tour. And I didn't really have a whole lot of expectations after that, but the tour went really, really well. So when I got home, Jim and Don sat me down and were like, we would like you to be a permanent member of the band. So it was, I was like, well, sure, let's do it. I loved it. I had a great time. Let's keep going. And they're like, okay, well, you have to learn 30 more songs. And so, I think I know 50 or something, 55 Nunslaughter songs on guitar.
Yeah.
So, obviously we all know what happened. Jim died. And at that point, Don said, I'm going to take a year. The band, I had pretty much given up on it at that point. I thought it was over with.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just me. I don't know if everybody else felt that way, but Don moved and he was in, I think he was just in Arizona at the time. And he contacted me and said, I think the right thing to do would be to take the band and keep going.
Right.
So, and I said, okay. He said, well, we need a drummer. So those are really big shoes to fill, and
right.
not just the playing, but the just his persona and the energy.
Yeah.
So it was really tough to find somebody, but I looked around and I said, I'm not going to go on this like extensive search for a drummer. Don's not even here. He's in Arizona. So I have to be the band dad in Cleveland. And, and Murph was in the band and still. And, so I knew a guy named Joe that could play the drums, and he's a sick drummer. And he'd been playing in metalcore bands and deathcore bands and stuff. But I'd done some stuff with him in the studio as he'd done some session work for a guy. And I was like, man, this guy's really good. So, and we were doing a band called From the Hellmouth at the time, and death metal band that I was singing in. And so, yeah, I just asked him, and he learned a bunch of tunes, and we ended up getting him. He ended up joining the band. So my perspective, I mean, I went from, the guy that was just playing guitar as a fill-in guy to basically sort of operating the interpersonal part of the band. Don was doing all the business end of it. He's the booking agent. He's the manager, whatever. And I'm handling all okay, I got to teach these guys 35 songs so that we can do a tour. And
then do new music in the meantime,
Yes. And try and somewhere in there, get everybody comfortable enough to the point where we can say, okay, let's write songs that actually sound like Nunslaughter songs. Because, I'm the only, Murph, Andrew, our former bass player, he was in the band with me back in 2014 as well. So, it's kind of like a phantom. It was kind of like having phantom limb syndrome. Like it was really weird trying to sort of mold it together, and it took a while.
Yeah.
So I went from hired gun guitar player to basically scheduling band practice.
Yeah, exactly.
You
All
know,
right, here you go. Here's the keys to the car.
yep,
Drive. You're only
yep.
15, but
I think we did a pretty good job, and then eventually, Don moved back, and we're, now we rehearse every week, so we're full go band now. We have been for the last couple of years now.
no, I'm assuming that you guys are not rehearsing. Probably a stupid question, but some bands are right now.
Yeah, we had our first one back last week. We went 7 weeks without rehearsing, so that's that's too long for us. I know me, I'll go crazy if I don't have that. Just some like 2 hours of headbanging a week at least.
Right. So you do weeklies?
We do
This?
weeklies, yeah, and sometimes depending on schedules, we'll do other stuff too. But we practice right in the studio, and we can record whenever we want. So sometimes it's practice, sometimes it's pick 10 songs, record them, and they'll
Yeah.
go on a 7-inch somewhere.
Sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, the one thing about you guys that I've noticed is the amount of material that is online. Like, I'm like, holy fuck, man. Like 20 fucking song albums.
Oh yeah.
Like an EP, 10 songs. Like, you never see that nowadays.
Yeah,
So,
it's got that little bit of that punk rock, well, a lot of punk rock mentality. So, short songs, energy, to the point.
yep.
Not a lot of dicking around, and you just rip them out. I mean, it's not hard to do, but it's hard to keep up. And Nunslaughter is a very prolific band, so
Yep.
it's like I said before, even going back to Jim again, filling those shoes. He was a very prolific writer. The guy could write a record on a washer and a dryer. He's done it.
Yeah.
So you just, I'm like, okay, I got big shoes to fill, and we got to keep it up.
Yeah. All right. I got 3 more questions for you. This one's from Kenny Allure, one of my buddies. He loves you guys.
Awesome.
So, when people think of metal hotspots in America, what usually comes to What usually comes to mind is places like Los Angeles, Florida, New York City, and so on. Whoever, however, Cleveland seems to have like this strong presence. You know, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Like it's got this like brotherhood. Is that common, or because I only visit there a few times?
Well, I think Cleveland is a small town.
Right.
It's not a big city, and it's a little spread out. I mean, if you take Akron and Cleveland as a whole, it's a little bit bigger, but it is 2 different cities, and it's kind of 2 different cultures almost too. But I think Cleveland absolutely is a metal hotspot.
Right.
I think that I think it is a little bit different after having the opportunity to travel a little bit and go see the
Mhm.
world and stuff. I think I am kind of lucky to be from here, because you could go to a show and you could see a punk rock band, a hardcore band, and a metal band in the same night, and nobody's there's well, I mean, there's probably somebody fighting, but there isn't like crew beef or
Right.
any of that
Yeah.
extracurricular
They're like,
bullshit.
damn, what are you doing at this show, man?
None of that. I went a couple years back. Guttermouth came through, punk rock
Mhm.
band from I think LA or something, and I mean, they're hilarious. I love it. So I went up to see it, and I walk in, and it's like, oh, there's that guy from that band and that guy from that band, and you're looking around and you're like, oh, all the metalheads are here.
Right.
But that's just the way it is. It's just always the way it's been. I mean, there are always gonna be problems with people, but I always felt like it was a small enough scene that everybody kind of knows everyone. Of course,
Mhm.
that has its drawbacks too, because then you got, well, that guy fucked that guy's girlfriend, and
Right. Yeah.
it has its
The
drawbacks.
country town stuff.
Yeah, but there are so many good bands from this town in the area, and I think just the general drudgery of being from Cleveland kind of contributes to that. This is kind of a shitty place.
Exactly.
It's not.
Yeah, Rochester is not. I mean, it's nice, but it's shitty too.
There's a lot of similarities
Right.
between the two. You know, a lot of dead real estate. And,
Yeah.
just depression.
Exactly. Give me some bands that you would have like never expected to play with when like touring or playing shows with Nunslaughter.
Oh, dude. We did Netherlands Death Fest, 2017.
Yep.
Flew over there for just a one-off, and played 2 bands before Emperor.
Oh my.
Or something, 3 bands before Emperor, I think. I actually, by the time I got off the stage, I had pretty much forgotten about our set. I was just wanting to go see Emperor. Like 1349, it was like us, I think Devourment, and then 1349, and then Emperor. I think it was the lineup, and it was I was just like, holy fuck. I mean, it's not a band you're going to see in the States, so or
Yeah.
you at least got to go to Canada to see them, and
Right.
that was awesome. I've rewatched. I'll go on YouTube and watch Emperor live videos, and I'll just watch them over and over again because I'm like, man, I'm never going to get to see that unless I get on an airplane and fly over there.
Right. You forgot all the gear as well. You're like,
Yeah.
fuck my gear, fuck
Yep.
the guitars. I'm
Okay.
going to see Emperor.
Yep. That was sick.
How about like weird bands? Like I'm talking like out of your genre.
Oh, we played with Sex Trash in Sao Paulo.
Right.
And I think they're from there, I think. And it was a really kind of a weird show. We ended up getting kicked back to like 1 a.m, and the shows there go till 4 a.m. So
Right.
because the buses run, it's weird. Anyway, yeah, we played with Sex Trash. That was sweet. There was one band in Argentina that we played with. I don't remember their name, but the singer sat on a toilet the whole time.
Like brought a toilet on the stage.
Yeah, he turned that son of a bitch around right up on the stage, dude, and sat on it and put his
Ass out
elbows
and everything.
Well, he was just wearing clothes, but it was really fucking funny. I still have pictures of it from the side of the stage because I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
Wow.
And then there's always fest shows. European fest shows. It's like we play with every band. You don't even you can't even remember them all. Hardcore. We played with like some New York hardcore bands at a fest in Germany that was really, really different. So it's like after a while it all kind of starts to blend together. But
Right.
but it
I
is
saw
pretty.
I saw a video in I think it was California. You guys played on like I don't know, like in a development. From what I saw in the video, it looked like a neighborhood show. I have no idea.
Oh, I don't know either.
Yeah, too many shows to remember. Word. So, last question here. Can you give me some, info on this new LP that you were talking about?
Oh yeah. New LP. Yeah. At this point we're just finishing up my vocals, my backup vocals. Everything else is tracked. And it's kind of mixed already. We're just going to wrap it up, get the artwork done. Hopefully, I think the plan is for next year right now for a release. I think originally we'd planned on starting to record this a little sooner, but then shows kept coming. So we ended up doing it in December and then, rolling through, getting it wrapped up now. So a lot of lyrics still had to be done and stuff like that. So, it's going to be done pretty soon, and next year it'll get released. I don't have a whole lot of details on the release part of it, or even who's going to put it out. I'm assuming Hell's Headbangers will release it.
Yep.
But that's not really my end of the business. So I just, I'm really excited about it because half the songs about half of them were written pre Joe, our new drummer.
Yep.
And then the other half were written with Joe. So we had the original tapes from 2013, 14, and 15. a bunch of cassette recordings from practice. Some of them even before I was in the band. I don't even know who was playing guitar in some of those demos. I have no idea.